How to automate a record lock issue with Robot Counsel. As we know, Robot Counsel monitors QSYSOPR, and what we have is a routine that can help warn the end user to release the record lock, and then eventually if the end user doesn't, to actually end them. So we'll show you this procedure in just a little bit. Just to remind you, Robot Counsel can monitor QSYSOPR, QSYS message, error message queues, jobs, and many other resources on the system, along with application logs. It works with Robot Alert to notify you via one-way, two-way technology, text messaging, SNMP traps, and many other ways that it can be used to monitor QSYSOPR, automate it in the background, and now we know we can handle that difficult record lock issue. Today we're here to help solve a problem that happens to everybody during the night or even on weekends. End user gets into an application, pulls up some data, and then goes home and forgets to sign off. And what they've done is they've locked a record. And so I'm going to show you how to simulate that today, and then also how Robot Counsel can automate the process of removing the end user from the system ultimately, so your night processing continues to run unattended. So here's what we have is we have a robot schedule job. It's going to do an RBC change center, a command that's in Robot Counsel. But first, as the end user, I'm going to go into our EasyView product. I'm going to find the same message that I simply have called lock, and I'm going to bring it up in my green screen under EasyView, like as if I'm going to change the data. In essence, what this does is it locks this relative record number 21 containing this information, just like an end user having data locked. So now I'm going to go to Robot Schedule. I'm going to force this batch job to start running in the background. This job is going to do this change RBC center to that same record called locked. It'll take a while before the job gets an error, so I'm going to go down here and just display QSYSOPR. Okay, the record lock has occurred. Notice it in QSYSOPR. Now, technically, my batch job over here is still running, and now it's locked. So this could be holding up night processing. Play QSYSOPR again. Notice there's a R for retry. What's happened is, behind the scenes, Robot Counsel has answered that inquiry message and said, let's retry it. Maybe the end user up above has signed off the system and it was just a temporary record lock. But we're going to go all the way through. We're going to assume the end user is not going to get off the system, and we're going to go all the way to actually ending the job. So the first thing we're going to do in the background is we're going to send this interactive user a message saying, please get off the system. You're locking the night processing process. And this is a message that we've sent to the end user. But the end user went home, so obviously they have no idea they have this hold on a critical record that's part of night processing. Now, if we display QSYSOPR again, we'll see that we now have our second retry. And notice our job is still running. Meanwhile, look what happened on top. My end user was just automatically signed off. And if I display QSYSOPR again, we'll see this job here was ended by robot user, which was Robot Counsel in the background. So now our job has completed. Okay, so how did this all happen? And first of all, what I'm going to do is show you that in Robot Counsel, we ship some sample source code. And there's two programs. There's RBC Record Lock and there's RBC Warn Record Lock. The first one that we're going to talk about is the Warn Record Lock. This is the one that's sending a message to you saying that get off the system, there's a record lock. because you're locking night processing. What I'm doing right now is I'm scanning down to where the Q command exec is, and we see that right here, and we're passing in a parameter into it. And if I go back to this command, we're basically sending a break message, and that's the message that we're putting in here. Now, if you don't know RPG and you want to modify this message, we recommend that you have a developer help you out. Otherwise, you can just compile that program in a library list that is noticeable to Robot Council. Now, the second program we have here is this is actually doing an end job. If I scan for it, and we'll see right here, that's the command it's sending, and it's going to end the job that has the record lock so the process can continue. So you have to compile those two programs. We don't compile them for you. I compiled mine into Robot Conlive. The downside of that is if we were to do a update of the library and overlay that, then you would no longer have that program in place. So here I compiled it, and you can see my user ID on it. But anyways, you can compile it. I will tell you, you do have to have RBT Conlive in your library list when you compile, or you'll get an error. Okay, so that's step one. We got those two programs in place for handling the background record lock activity. Now, in Robot Console, what I've done is I've created a message set. This message set is monitoring for RNQ1218, which is the message on QSYSOPR. So if I go back to the sign on here and display QSYSOPR, we'll see the message ID behind this error message is RNQ1218. And that, if we look at the detail here, we can see even the message file that it came from. Okay? All right. So I created a rule, RNQ1218, a message set. And when I double click on this, okay, first of all, I want to show you something on extended set. Extended set, I did, there's a thing called message set repeat limits and message repeat limits and time limit for prior message info. These little interval is used by some of the keywords that I'm using, or operational keywords in Opal. My system was at just 1 minute, and I changed it to 30 minutes because if we saw the process took more than 1 minute to run. So I just increased the time. Just be aware of that if your Opal code doesn't work. So Opal is basically a macro language inside of Robot Council. And what I've done is I've said, if the repeat limit for this message is less than or equal to 1, I'm going to delay, I say 30 seconds, and I'm going to do a retry. And the reason behind that is I want to give the end user a time to sign off. Maybe it's during the day and it's a normal thing and I got a record lock, but I'm going to do automation here and just say, do a retry and then quit the process and jump out of the Opal. Now, if it's the second time that the same user had a record lock that my batch process is trying to use, I'm going to call that warn record lock RPG program. I'm going to send them that warning saying, hey, get off the system because you're holding up on night processing. Now, again, you can modify what that message says if you don't like what we have. I say wait 5 minutes. You can wait as long as you want. In my example, I'm only delaying 5 seconds. Okay, because we don't want to, I know, this is me doing a test here. So I don't want to wait very long. All right, so let's just say the end user ignored the warning. The retry on the first one didn't work. The retry on the second one didn't work. The record's still locked. Well, I've made a decision. If its repeat is greater than or equal to 3, I'm just going to end the job because we got to get night processing done. And that's what that RBC record lock program does. Delay for 30 seconds is giving this job where we're ending it a chance to end and clear the record lock. And then we do a retry to answer the message out in QSYSOPR. So that's really what this is about. I know it's a little complicated. It's nice to have a little bit of programming background to do this, but if you simply got to compile the programs and you're okay with the messaging that we have in here and the process that we have, you can use it just as is. So, great automation tip for how to automate record lots. I know it's a problem out there for a lot of you. We've made it a lot easier. You just need Robot Counsel on your system. Have a great day.